Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. I am your host, Ben Crossman, and I hope all of you are having a great day so far. And we can take you into the weekend with a little bit of excitement, enjoyment, and yeah, a great show lined up for today. As we have the one, the only Popzara magazine here with us, Mr. Nathan Evans, and yeah, we have a bunch of topics, really spanning everything from Apple and new news to some overt racism and websites and web domains. We have a little bit of everything, so it's gonna be fun. But before we get to Nathan Evans and before we get to all of our fun stories, we have something to mention, including computeramerica.com. If you want to check out any of the stories that we do here today that we talk about, or if you want to check out Popzara, which is always a great place to go if you're looking for, objective reviews on movies, games, anything pop culture, that is your place to go. And links to all that, computeramerica.com in the show notes, and you can find it very simply. Another thing is of course, the video portion of the program where you can watch Computer America and not just listen. So, yeah, check that out. And then the last thing is actually our Logitech contest, which every single Friday we give away a prize to one of our lucky listeners, and all they had to do was go enter at computeramerica.com, and yeah, we're going to pick one later on in the program and read their name live on the air, get their prize out to them. Just that simple. So with all that being said, why don't we just kind of kick this off? So again, Popzara, all things pop culture and news, interesting, fun, and the man himself, I believe this is his brainchild, and always happy to have him here on Computer America because he's a lot of fun, Mr. Nathan Evans. So Nate, how you doing?
Hey Ben, what's up? So this week I'm fun, and last month I was controversial. So someone's trying to eat their cake and have it too.
There's room for both. You can be fun and controversial. Controversial. There we go. Yeah.
Are you sure in this climate? I gotta be very careful what I say.
Yeah. Just don't misgender anyone, and don't get into race politics, and we're good to go. This is gonna be fun. This is gonna be fun.
Yeah, no race and politics on this week's show. None of that.
No. We'll save that for the Netgear show or something. But no, okay. So with this one, we are going to we have a lot of different topics. You just sent over another one, and and actually, this is actually the article that you just linked. So actually, for anyone who may be new to hear at Computer America when you are on, Nate, what is your goal in life? What is the purpose of Popzara? What is your purpose as someone who is worthy to be on Computer America?
Well, there was the sage Madonna. Remember her? She of the non-version variety. She once said, when asked, "What's your goal in life?" and she said, "To rule the world." Now, that's a good goal to have, but as you can see, if you're a world leader, you're first on the chopping block, so screw that. I don't want to rule the world, but I do think good, sensible journalism without a lot of angst and with a lot of snark is a good place to go. That being said, I am full of angst, I am full of snark, and so it's very hard to sort of encourage editors to sort of tamper it a little bit. But in regards to Computer America, how long have I been on this show now? 3 years?
Yeah, it's been a while.
10 years? 10 years?
I don't know about 10 years.
I don't know. It feels like 10 years.
Ouch. Ouch.
It feels like forever. You got one step in, like, for example, Computer America has 1 foot in the terrestrial world and 1 foot in the digital world. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a good place to be. I think that's a good place because you're always on your toes, so to speak. So
it's a changing landscape, and it's hard to be subjective when you kind of get sucked into the middle of it, and you surround yourself with either like I find this myself too, when you surround yourself in the latest and greatest, the breaking news, the best hardware, the most extreme software you can find, that you lose your sense of what people actually care about, because you hype yourself up to be excited about the latest and greatest, and not everyone has access to or even cares about what more they have already. So it's good to have some objectivity, and I think that you really tend to do that. You like to keep
Oh,
it
thank
down to
you.
earth.
Well, if I can just do a little shout out, and this is not a promotion or anything, but I
Go
was
for it.
talking to this product producer the other day, and we were having a conversation about the product he does. And I'll just say what it is. Maybe you can get him on the show. He's a cool guy. It's called the EGFX Breakaway Box, and what it
Hmm.
is, we've talked about, you and I have talked about these products. It's a external GPU enclosure for Thunderbolt 3 compatible systems. Basically, if you have a new Macintosh, if you have an Acer motherboard or a Slimline Ultrabook, and you can't have a huge, big, fatty, graphics card like I know you do because
Yeah.
you're a gamer and
Oh yeah.
you can't deal with, you can't deal with less. But we talked about it, and we talked about his frustration in trying to get people to talk about this product objectively, because if you go to most tech websites and you go to most consumer websites, oh, it's not what everybody uses. So you're going to cut out the 20% of people who may be niche, who may be genre. But to be honest with you, Ben, that 20% is where a lot of the action happens. It's where a lot of the cool stuff happens. A lot of where the experiments happen. It's a lot of where the future happens. And so yeah, like Computer America, you got to keep one foot in one side and one foot the other side, and you have to acknowledge you have a readership, you have a demographic, but on the other hand, you have to say screw them and go for the gusto and hail Mary it and say I like this cool stuff and I'm going to play with it because you never know. And
Yeah.
it's there's a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun in being objective, and a lot of people think it's stale and stiff, which it is sometimes. But no, you can do both.
Yeah, it's certainly something, but this next one here, and actually, we're going to, I think, kind of lead off with a story that you just linked here
Hmm.
to us, and this has to do with the Xbox One because there was some Xbox One X news
Mm.
that I have to go find, but yeah, the console sales, their numbers, there's hard evidence. There's not a lot of fanboyism that can happen here, but
Yes.
there seems to be a little bit where GameStop is like that company that I thought was going to go out of business probably about 5 years ago when digital sales really started to be convenient, easy, and accessible. But GameStop is still around, and they, I guess they gave an interview. What is this article and why? And
Sure.
yeah, and why?
Well, a little backdrop. What Ben is referring to are the sales of video games and software and video game consoles. And we've talked about this extremper. Yeah, I could pronounce it today. My brain's not there. We've talked about it ad nauseum. How's that?
Right.
Quite a bit. And whenever certain dates roll around, Ben, I know E3 rolls around, or when a major manufacturer like Microsoft or Nintendo or Sony, they make an announcement. We always have this same conversations. What's the future of the video game? What's the future of the console? And like I was telling you about the nitwits that love to prognosticate BS. Oh, the console's dead, the PC's here. They're never right. They're never right. They're kind of like the people that predict the eclipse will destroy the world. We're still here. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
now in Popzara we do something every month called NPD. It stands for National Purchase Diary, and you're welcome to listen to it. Your readers are. I know for a fact I have stalkers thanks to you, Ben. So thank you for
You're
for
welcome.
sieving those people over our way. Hey, by the way, Mark and Star Fortress, how you doing? Just don't, you know, release my children. But no, we talk about it every month, and the people at NPD are big fans of the show, and I'm very happy to say that. And they like our commentary, and sometimes we'll talk about the Xbox, and the fact is the Xbox One isn't selling very well. Just because something sells well on a list doesn't mean it's selling well. And the truth of the matter is the Xbox One as a console has never quite been able to live up to the reputation of its predecessor, the Xbox 360. The PlayStation 4 has been an astounding success for Sony. Astounding. The Xbox, not so much this generation. And what really, really maybe put the final nail in the coffin was the release of the Nintendo Switch, which has been doing gangbusters, just crazy business
Oh yeah.
all around. And our mutual friend Corey Gallagher and I talk about this every month, and we basically made an admission last month. Xbox One is might be DOA at this point, and we love the console, and I know you do too. And it's not. This is me being objective. It's just not selling. And what Microsoft has done has decided to create another version, which is the Xbox One X, which is even more powerful, which is even better. It's more 4K, it's more HDR. forget the fact that the other Xbox had 4K and HDR. This one does even more 4K, more HDR, more graphics, more of everything, and the price is almost double. It's
Yeah.
$500. The story you were referring to is the fact that pre-orders have started for the Xbox One X. But the truth of the matter is that objectively, we've always felt, well, how is Microsoft going to sell a $500 console when they couldn't sell the Xbox One originally as a $500 console? They're having trouble selling $200 systems, and a lot of it has nothing to do with power. And this is the part that gets me. Has nothing to do with 4K. Has nothing to do with power. If it did, the Switch wouldn't sell. It has everything to do with software. And at E3, we talked about this. At E3 this year, Microsoft made a very interesting decision to basically announce every single major game that's going to be on the Xbox One will also be on the Windows PC. So
Yeah.
why buy an Xbox at this point? Why buy an Xbox if you could just buy the same thing on a PC? In fact, there's interoperability between it. Certain titles on the Xbox One are also, if you buy them, you also unlock the PC version. So Microsoft is really, I talked about putting feet in both ends. They've done the same, but both ends are full of pig poop. And so I don't really know how they get out of this. And that's really sad.
And yeah, and I'm trying to skim the article that you sent, and I'm trying to skim because actually, I'll put these articles side by side. Again, if you're watching the video portion, we'll do this. But yeah, I'm trying to hold these articles side by side here, and one is news directly from Xbox.com. Microsoft, of course, how biased can they be for their own product, and then the other one is the article that you sent over about GameStop blames lagging Xbox One sales for poor software performance, whereas on the other side, Microsoft says, thanks to our fans, Xbox One X is the fastest selling Xbox pre-order ever. On one side, it says that, GameStop is, kind of experiencing a sluggish Xbox sales. I mean, that's obvious. But on the other side, it seems like, Microsoft at least says people are excited for the One X. Where do you think it is? Because, you're right. The Xbox console this generation in general has not been exciting for people.
I mean, I have to restate. I really like the Xbox One X. I mean, Xbox One. I have an Xbox One S. I love it. It's my go-to thing on Popzara. It is our preferred unit for playing 4K Blu-ray. Blu-ray. And for example, Sony has a more powerful version of the PlayStation 4 called the PlayStation 4 Pro.
Mm-hmm.
It's inadequate. There are massive problems with that system. I don't recommend it. But the Xbox One X, it plays Blu-ray, Ultra 4K Blu-rays. It plays 4K enabled games. I mean, you're not going to get performance on the level of a PC with a high-end video card. That's ridiculous. And I don't think you're going to get that on the Xbox One X either. These are iterative consoles that are really screwing the system up. And me, I've talked about this. I don't like them. I think they're bad for the industry, and I think you're starting to see that. As far as what Microsoft's claiming, false flags. Nintendo does this. Sony does this. The fastest pre-order ever. What does that actually mean? What does that mean? Unless there's numbers to back it up, I don't know what it means. I'll tell you this though.
Mm-hmm.
The two most successful movies of all time, ironically, are James Cameron movies. They're Avatar and there are Titanic. Neither movie in any way, shape, or form broke any box office records in any way when either came out. You didn't hear about them breaking any records, but slowly but surely they built a fan base. And slowly but surely they eventually broke all records. That is how something breaks records, slowly but surely. Something comes out of the gate, usually means it's not going to break any records. And as far as Microsoft, it's the fastest pre-order ever. I think that speaks less on the original Xbox One than it does on the Xbox One X. Again, you could make up statistics to say anything.
Yeah.
This is the best show about computers starring a guy named Ben, a host named Nathan. I guarantee you, it's the best.
Yeah, I would not disagree with that. And I mean, Microsoft obviously they want to paint this in the best light because their sales. I mean, they are I think a quarter of the sales of Sony at this point. Sony owns the console market, and I don't know. I hope that the Xbox One X is successful, obviously, but at the same time, I just don't know if Microsoft can curate what Sony has at this point. And it's a user base. It's people to play with, people to be social with in video games. That's hard to come by on Xbox.
Well, the truth of the matter is Xbox actually has a very solid and robust online service, the Xbox Live. and they do have dedicated fans, and it would probably surprise you to know that.
I'm one of them. I know that. I'm
I
one of
know,
them, and no
but
one
but
else is
but
on there anymore. It
but there are
sucks.
people that are just so stubborn. They will not move away from Xbox for the PlayStation platform for things like Call of Duty. They prefer Xbox. And you know why? Because Microsoft is much better at this than Sony. Their online services are far superior. There's so much to love about what Microsoft has done. But the problem is they've never focused on the thing that matters, which is games. They've never holistically developed third-party relationships that are strong. Their second-party relationships usually are, oh, I like Bungie. I'll buy Bungie. Oh no, I'll get rid of Bungie. Oh, I love Rare. I don't really like the games. Whereas you look at the relationships Nintendo has with their second parties, that's the best you can get. It's the gold standard. Whatever Nintendo is doing, do that, you'll be successful. Sony, not quite close, but close enough where they have good relationships with developers. There are, again, I talk about NPD statistics. Every
Mhm.
month, we've been doing this for years. You see this. You see this. There's no demand for Halo or Gears of War anymore. There's not. Microsoft announced a new Age of Empires this week, Age of Empires 4. They also announced Age of Empires HD or whatever it's called. Blizzard brought out their StarCraft 4K version,
Yeah,
whatever.
they did.
At a certain point, you have to look forward and you have to say, how can we keep this coming? And so, again, there may not be room in this industry for three consoles at this point. If Microsoft, as I think they seem to be doing, they seem to be instigating people to go to the Windows platform as a PC, as a gaming console. I'm all for it. They've done really good work. The Xbox controller is the best controller out there for anything. It's wonderful on the PC. They have a solid, robust online system. They have a good distribution network. And let's be honest, Ben, the Windows 10 can play everything. Plays everything. Plays
Yeah.
Steam. Plays WoW. Plays Ubisoft's thing. It plays
Plays all Blizzard. It
GOG.
plays, yeah.
Yeah, it plays everything. It's really good, and it's a lot simpler than it used to be. I would actually kind of prefer if Microsoft gravitated to making the Windows platform really good. They have an edge.
Yeah, and for what you just said, there may not be room for three. Quite possibly that there may be room for even more than that. But the problem that Microsoft runs into is that Microsoft can't afford to be second or third. Microsoft,
Yes,
for how
that's
big
yes,
they
that's true.
are, for how much they invest, they have to be top or even a close second. Otherwise,
Yes.
it just doesn't make monetary
Well,
sense.
I think it's also helpful for listeners to know that a couple years ago, Microsoft did something interesting, and they moved the Xbox sales away from their computer division and sort of hid them inside their entertainment. I think it's called EDOD, Entertainment Devices, something something,
Mhm.
and that was to hide the poor sales of the Xbox platform and revenue. And so I would rather see Microsoft not focus on making. Let me be charitable. Decent hardware that's never as good as the PC. And I would rather see them focus their forces on consolidating the Windows platform. Because I also have to say this, I have some sad news for PC gamers out there. Your market is nowhere as big as the console
It's
market overall.
growing though. It's
It's
growing.
I
There's at
I
least the trend is going in our favor though.
I would point to you again to the NPD as a snapshot, whereas the console market monthly makes about $400 million in revenue. The PC world makes about 14.
Hey, we're getting there.
Yeah, and it is. You're right. It is trending upward. But the fact of the matter is, it's because the only company out there that consolidates the PC market for gaming is Valve, and they do a crappy job of it. Steam is okay, but Steam is a giant mess. They've introduced incompatible. Speaking of bad hardware, the Valve hardware is awful, and you know it, Ben. I think we all know
It's
the Steam
it's
OS is the
debunked by
OA.
now. It is definitely
It's
debunked.
terrible.
Yeah.
And there was no reason for it. The only reason for it was to compete with Microsoft. By the way, I got one last thing to say. If we're going to conjecture,
Sure.
you want to see Microsoft have a complete rebound? Here's what you do, If you're listening to Microsoft or NPD, which I know you are, listen. Enable Windows 10 on the Xbox One S. Enable it. Because your $500 console, which by all accounts is very, very nice piece of hardware, would suddenly become the most versatile console of all time. It would have access to Blizzard. It would have access to everything. That's a really good deal. I would buy an Xbox One S
They
X
came
if it
out
was
with
$50.
they came out with a I think it was like Windows 10 S, I want to say, for the Surface
Mhm.
tablet. And like, again, it's not as full featured as and here's Windows
Doesn't need
10
to
S
be.
Streamline. It's not as full features as the full Windows 10 implementation, but I feel like if you can get it on a tablet or even a light Ultrabook, you can probably get it on an Xbox console. You're right. I mean,
Oh, no.
many
Xbox
times.
already has Windows 10. It already has it. It has a version of it. They bragged about it, and they need to consolidate this and open the Xbox up to what it can do. The Xbox One X is very powerful for the price. You cannot build your PC at that performance for $500. My our good friend Herman Exum, my senior tech
Hmm.
editor, he's trying to, can't do it. Can't do it. Sorry, Microsoft, you stuffed you made some deals with devils to get that thing running. But I will say, it would be wonderful to see that sort of crazy expansion. And I'll tell you one more thing. There's a lot of new games coming out for the Xbox One, the PC, and yes, the Switch that will play to. Have you read about this? They're going to be compatible with each other online. Games like Minecraft. That Oh, forgive me, I forget the name of it.
I've heard about that, and I've also heard about.
Yeah.
Again, this is Sony throwing around its weight as the new, Craig's favorite phrase was the 800-pound gorilla in the room. This was Sony throwing around their weight, saying that Xbox and Switch are going to be able to play together on
Yes.
servers for Minecraft, and then Sony's like, we're not going to do that. Why should we bother?
Well,
yeah.
they're right. I mean, they don't have to. Whereas it behooves the Switch and Xbox to work together. Nintendo and Microsoft have had some very interesting relationship for the last year or two now. And the same way Microsoft has sort of expanded into the world of Apple, right? Microsoft is doing some very interesting things. And that's why it pains me to see them backwards on the game console market, because they're doing wonderful on Windows. They're doing wonderful on hardware, despite what Consumer Report says. They're doing wonderful on a lot of avenues. But on the Xbox, they just seem to be mucking it up every step of the way. And it might be time to pull the plug.
I really hope not, because again, I am an Xbox
Exactly.
fanboy.
I don't think so either. I'd love to see
But
Xbox
I'm
One,
I think that Xbox is certainly in a slump. I think that Microsoft has a lot of work to do there. But I don't think the Xbox One X, regardless of what Microsoft says, is the answer to that, because as far as I'm concerned, it's still this current generation of console, maybe spruced up a bit, but it's not going to get people excited, and it's not going to, 180 this trend that we've been seeing for, a couple of years now. It's going to be the next generation, and they have to do something better, because PlayStation, from the beginning we're digging into ancient history here. If you remember the Xbox the Xbox One only being sold with a Kinect, only being internet connected, the whole Prism and spying in homes was going around. Just the price point. I mean, there was a lot to not like that gave Xbox a lot of bad publicity, and I think it's going to take a whole new generation to erase all of that.
Don't forget the $100 premium to have an Xbox One when it first came out. It's just Microsoft has been doing some hellaciously dumb decisions with the Xbox One hardware. And I'll just say this, and I'm optimistic. If it works out for them, great. And I'll, eat my, caveat emptor, whatever I say.
Mm-hmm.
But let me just say this, though. At the end of the day, it comes out to two things. The reason Microsoft was never able to kill Sony from the industry, they did everything they could. The reason they couldn't was because of a competitor named Nintendo and a $250 console called the Wii, which completely changed the game plan. It changed the landscape. It changed the idea of where this thing was going. Microsoft was already struggling mightily before it came out, but the Nintendo Switch seems to have instigated a new trend like we haven't seen in 10 years. And so it really benefits to know that you get something like the Switch, which is less powerful than an Xbox One. And right. It looks like a tablet. It plays Zelda. And it sells billions, not billions, but a lot. And so
right.
If Microsoft wants to sell a console, if they want to sell a platform, forget what I said. If they want to sell you that you should invest in their platform, that you should buy exclusives on their system, they're going to need more than just clones of Call of Duty and Battlefield and everything. They're going to need more Halos or something else besides Halo or Gears of War.
Like, honestly, to me, it wasn't even just that. It was, one of the reason I got an Xbox was a game called Destiny. Look great. The idea of it was wonderful. Sony just had a better relationship with Bungie, which was weird.
They paid money.
And they had more players, they had more exclusives, items, and content. Like, it was painful to be an Xbox player playing a Bungie game on their console rather than their competitor. It was painful. So, okay.
Quick question though: were you an Xbox 360 person or were you a PS3 person?
I had the original Xbox. That was like I had the N64 and then the Xbox 360. I've just been Xbox ever
Yeah,
since
you're an
they've.
Xbox. That's
Yeah.
what happened. That's what Microsoft expected. And what Microsoft never did, Ben, Microsoft never treated you as someone who should be treated. That is, they
Yeah.
rewarded you in a way. They should have got the specials on Destiny. They should have done that.
They
They
didn't.
didn't do it.
It's crazy. So make sure this isn't a beat up on Microsoft Day. We're gonna switch
No,
over.
I said some good things about them.
Yeah. And yeah, again, they have a way to go. But let's switch over in like these next 5 minutes before we hit the
Sure.
break here. Just real quick, let's talk about GoldenEye64, what it means to
Yes.
us, and why it matters that it turns 20.
Oh, that's interesting. God, we could talk about this for shows. You mentioned you had the Nintendo 64, which eventually you went off. You adopted the Xbox, which is exactly what happened with a lot of people. Don't forget, in the early 2000s, Microsoft bought the developer of GoldenEye, Rare.
Yeah.
They bought them from Nintendo. At the time, it probably seemed like a great idea. It's turned out to be a nightmare for Microsoft. It never worked out, and for reasons we can discuss later. But GoldenEye 64 was the first truly competent first-person shooter available on a console machine. And not that PC games were anything to write home about besides Quake and a few others, but it wasn't just a game that was playable. It was fun. It was easy. It was accessible. Four players would play around. It
And yeah.
created it created an environment that to this day dominates the game industry. It's never been topped as far as the genre goes.
I think that, at least for me personally, and from a lot of people I've talked to about GoldenEye, it was a lot of people's first experience into multiplayer, first-person shooters. Yeah, the storyline was fun. I mean, it followed the movie. It was great and all that, but I mean, just being able to run around, be able to shoot paintballs at your friends with giant heads on their avatars. I mean, I know so many people who just love GoldenEye
Mhm.
for the, having three friends sitting on the couch next to you, all playing GoldenEye together. It was, one of the first times
Yep.
you could do that.
Could we also add to the fact that the solo campaign, which was sort of based on the movie version, was itself a masterpiece. The
Oh, it was
graphics
great.
for the time, great. The music was outstanding. Everything it was everything that you were promised with the Nintendo 64, and it delivered on every level. And by the way, a lot of people don't know this, but that game is mostly responsible for reinvigorating the James Bond franchise to a completely new generation. When people, it's very clear why Sony bought the license to James Bond, because it was because they realized that their interoperability between the PlayStation brand and the movies and everything was very dependent on these movie relationships. That's why the PlayStation font looked like Spider-Man. It's why GoldenEye was remade by Sony Studio, although it was on the Wii of all things,
Hmm.
by Activision. But it's interesting. Yeah, it made James Bond cool again. Not that James Bond need any help. He's always cool. But no, and it's never been bested. Even the spiritual sequel, Perfect Dark, which was a good game, wasn't quite what GoldenEye was.
Yeah, I never touched that one. I have friends who, kind of said, oh, that one was also great. Never got into
It was
that.
pretty
But,
good.
but
You could play it on Xbox Live. I think Xbox 360 or Xbox One has it.
yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. But I mean, no, like this did what I think for a lot of people, Half-Life 2 did. It just, I don't know, it just 20 years, 20 years of really being, I think to a lot of people, one of their first great games that they've played. I think that just has to be it. Just this generation, that was, if you were born 20
I
years ago, that was it.
How old are you, Ben? You're 55, right? You're almost are you a senior citizen?
55.
No, I'm
Yes,
just kidding.
except I'm
No.
26.
Um,
That's crazy.
I do have one last thing to say about this. Note the year it came out, 1997. That is a very important year for gaming and movie and everything. That's the same year that Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation came out. It's the same year that Princess Mononoke from anime came out. A lot of this sort of geeky, niche culture. When you ask people who play games what was their favorite first-person shooter, they'll probably say GoldenEye. If you ask them what their favorite anime is, they'll probably say Princess Mononoke. If you ask them what their favorite RPG is, they'll probably say Final Fantasy VII, because this particular time begat so many influential things that it helped like sort of create the zygote, which became the embryo, which became the baby, which became a bigger baby,
Right.
which is now the gaming industry. So,
And by the
thank
way,
you. Happy birthday.
Yep, happy birthday, and just checked it out. Star Fox also released 1997. What a great year.
Yes.
What a great year that
Very
was.
good year. Very
So everyone out there, music means we have to take a break. We'll be right back with more Nathan Evans, more Popzara, more news as we come back, and we are going to be talking about Whole Foods, Apple, Pepper the Robot, and hey, maybe even squeeze Daily Stormer in there as well. We'll be right back. Computer America.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 31 minutes past the hour as we continue on here. And before we get back to, we're doing a bunch of different news stories with the man himself, Mr. Nathan Evans. And wow, actually, I need to extend that. But yeah, and the thing I need to extend, I'm looking at the contest, about to pick a winner. So, Nathan, if you wouldn't mind, would you mind doing the drums for us? Oh, wait. And there we go. Can you hear me?
Yes.
There we go. All right, drum roll, please.
Drum roll and.
Amazing. That is crazy. This week's winner is. I should do this way earlier. So here we go. The winner is. Software is being slow. Here we go. This week's winner is Mr. Marshall McKeon. McKeon, I don't know. Marshall, if you're out there, listens to us in Illinois as much as you put, because hey, it doesn't matter. We just need to know that you live in the U.S. Listen to us in Illinois, and he entered using Facebook. And Marshall, thank you so much for listening. We will contact you after the show, and we'll get your prize out to you. I believe we're still giving away the M720 Logitech multi-device mouse. Awesome. And yeah, so if your name is not Marshall, hey, maybe next week we'll be calling your name instead. So just that simple, Computer America, all that good stuff. So yeah, continuing on, Nathan Evans, Popzara, news, just finished up GoldenEye Turns 20. Great game to a lot of people. Shocking, it's already 20 years old, but at the same time, I'm not sad because we've come a long way. And the fact that we can still look back at something that used, probably enough polygons to count on two hands, it still looks so fondly upon. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that at all. So, with that being said, Nathan, I'll leave it up to you. Which do you want to go to? Apple, Amazon, Pepper, Daily Stormer?
Well, Pepper's fun, but not to talk about the big horse in the corral. That's Amazon.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about this before, but Amazon will eventually buy and consume every company, and everyone
will be happy about it. Like Amazon has so much goodwill that I don't think that they could buy the U.S. government and people would be like, oh, all right, hey, under new management, this is awesome. It's Amazon has so much going for it that it can make these big deals. But yeah, please go on.
Well, we've talked about it before. Amazon petitioned to buy Whole Foods, and the FCC or FDA, I forget who it was. You have to forgive me. It's been a long day. Been trying to avoid a lot of the news this week. But
Right.
The fact of the matter is that the government will not get in the way. So the purchase will be finalized, I believe, on Monday. And Amazon is predicting one of the first things to get in people's good graces. They will be reducing the price of things like kale and avocados.
About time.
You know what? I was actually at a Whole Foods yesterday. I haven't been to one in a while, and I wanted to go look at their sections, and sure enough, everything is expensive there. And the idea is that that if it's expensive, it must be better for you. And this extends to normal products like certain types of yogurts that I buy, or if you're going to buy beer or something. It's like there's no reason for Budweiser to be more expensive at Whole Foods. There's no reason why the same brand of yogurt that you can buy somewhere else, but they get away with it.
Yeah.
And it's I call that the Target tax because people who argue, oh, I don't shop at Walmart, I'm better than I shop at Target. Same crap, people, for the most part. But Target costs more. And so you look at the store and it's usually a little cleaner. It's usually a different clientele, shall I say.
Yeah.
And, not a lot of motorized carts at Target. But the fact of the matter is that I have friends who work at Whole Foods and who depend on their sustenance at Whole Foods. And so I wish them well, and hopefully they can give me a discount. So, but
I hear the discounts coming not just for friends and family, but for Amazon Prime members.
well, they got to be careful because the I don't. It's like Microsoft, like we were talking about. The Walmart shopper is never going to shop at Whole Foods. It's antithetical to what makes them a Walmart shopper. And so I don't really know what they can do with this other than to use Whole Foods as sort of a starting point for this home delivery thing. And I can easily now I don't know if you knew this, but this doesn't happen in a vacuum. Amazon is opening up they're opening up different distribution centers all around the country, going to hire 50,000 people.
Yeah.
Now, I have editors who live in areas that Amazon services with 1 hour delivery. I have one editor, I won't embarrass him, but this guy, when he gets hungry, he orders cookies, and they deliver cookies to his house in an hour. That's lazy. That is so
That's
lazy.
not lazy. That is the epitome of the American dream. That is awesome.
It used to be you had to order like a pizza and wait an hour. Now you can order a bag of Nabiscos. But the fact is that if you have Amazon Prime, which I think we both do, it used to be, oh, you get free 2-day shipping. But then you notice that there needs to be a minimum, then they raise the minimum. Then it used to be, well, 2 days, but we're not going to tell you when the 2 days are. And, you might order something Monday thinking you're going to get it on Wednesday, but then it doesn't show up for like a month. And so the Amazon doesn't seem to really care about policy as much as maybe they let on. But I could easily see them using Whole Foods as sort of forgive the term, Target, to sort of hire drivers and to basically use Whole Foods as their delivery service for groceries.
That was something that was very apparent when, like, shortly after they announced their purchase of Whole Foods, which, $14 billion, it was no slouch, but they were saying that they were, like, I think it was like within a week or something like that, they announced that they were expanding upon their Amazon Prime pantry kind of service, where you could have maybe food delivered directly to your door, and if not, then you can use Whole Foods as a pickup location for anything that you order off of Amazon in regards to obviously the pantry. So
Yes.
like they didn't just purchase Whole Foods for the rich clientele that are into healthy, organic, expensive products. No,
Which, by the way, you ever notice this? Not to editorialize, but why is it that people that always insist on Mercs and Whole Foods, they never look healthy? Like no one is ever like the epitome of health. They always look like they're dying. And I never understood this
It's
dichotomy.
because other foods have preservatives, and that keeps you nice and happy looking. Preservatives keep you preserved. But no. That is definitely the realm of opinion. But no, they did say that this was going to be an extension on places that don't have the 50 million square foot warehouses that they're building all over the country. They're going to use these as their physical footprint because Amazon, as we've said before, they were in the business in the first 10 years of their business of destroying brick and mortar, of
That's
saying
true.
you don't need to step foot in a place. Everything can be delivered to your door. And now, they have bookstores, they have warehouses, they have now Whole Foods. They're trying to break into the brick and mortar space.
You know what's funny though? Like I don't associate warehouse with freshness. You know what I mean? Like if you order a product like on Amazon, like some eye drops or some tissue paper, it doesn't need to be day fresh. It's
Right.
not salmon, right? So it's like I just made this morning, But when it comes to food, I could easily see if this happened, then you can give me a paycheck for being we'll play the lottery together. But I could easily see Whole Foods because the type of clientele that goes to Whole Foods is the type of client that is already comfortable with paying an exorbitant premium for
Right.
their pasta and their soap and their handmade trinkets. Get that crap on Etsy. But anyway, so
You're right though. Go ahead.
if I already have my card, I'm already going to spend $10 on a box of pasta, then I'm the right person for Amazon to sell me a $10 box of pasta with the delivery charge baked into the pasta.
But you're right though, where this wouldn't work with, let's say, because let's face it, Amazon is so rich at this point that they had enough cash reserves that they could have made an offer on Walmart. Like they could have coughed up the $64 billion to maybe
they would never,
purchase.
Yeah,
they could, but they could, but they wouldn't, because you're right. The clientele, whereas let's say Walmart or some of the other bargain places, they are looking for kind of the way to kind of make your dollar go the furthest. Whereas Whole Foods, if they can roll some services in, even some discounts in with Amazon Prime, I think the clientele at Whole Foods would completely hop on board the Amazon Prime train, send them $100 a year for absolutely nothing. And then, hey, get some discounts at places they already shop. It made a lot of sense, and I'm excited to see what happens Monday.
It does make sense. It's a good match,
Yeah.
But you remember, God, what was the name? When Blockbuster Video was the king of the hill when it comes to videos and home movies. I remember there was a lot of talk of that Netflix was going to displace them, and Blockbuster executive, oh, no. People love going out and buying, renting a movie.
They thought that it was an experience, just like going to the movies, going to pick out your movie was an experience, and yeah.
They highly overestimated that experience. But I'll say, hey, honey, where do you want to go? Let's go return that tape we forgot to rewind and get charged for it. And then we can stand in line and maybe get the movie that maybe we want.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, I remember when it became apparent that Blockbuster had effed up, right? And they started looking in desperately to sort of match whatever Netflix was doing. And they purchased companies, they did deals. And that's what Walmart's doing right now. Walmart is scrambling. Target just did this a couple weeks ago. I don't know if you saw this. Target bought a company. Everyone wants to match Amazon's 2-day thing. They can't do it. They can't do it. Even if they offer the service, they're going to take such a loss that they can't afford. They are not loss leaders like Amazon. Amazon doesn't have a store. There's no Amazon stores the way there is a Target store or a Walmart store. Walmart and Target make their money on volume by offering it to middle America at cheap prices. Amazon undercuts everybody because they don't have any overhead like that. Their stuff ships on a truck. It comes in a box. They deal with UPS. They deal with FedEx. They deal with that stuff. That's why they can offer you that stuff so cheap.
Yeah.
So when I see Target and Walmart doing this, that's a red flag.
Though to kind of say that they, that Walmart is, kind of laying down and saying that they can't do anything about it, they did just make a deal with, I believe, Google, where the Google Home, no, the HomePod's Apple, the Google the home smart speaker.
There's home smart speaker.
Yeah. They made a deal with Walmart, and now when you try to order things like you do off of say Alexa, if you try to do that with Google, it's going to default to Walmart, and you're going to be able to pick things up at Walmart. So
that sounds like the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
They're trying, though. They're trying.
They're trying. It's like that Burger King commercial that did the same thing. First of all, I would hesitate to say that the number of people with Google Home internet speakers is anywhere close to what Amazon has on a good day. Second of all, this is a Google Home product that doesn't even have basic licensing agreements with the major manufacturers of things like the Internet of Things. Like, it's still wildly incompatible. Google has shown they do not know what they're doing when it comes to these sort of resources. Third of all, it's Walmart people. It's Walmart people. If you've ever been to the average home of a Walmart shopper, yeah, like technology.
Ouch.
Come
on, I shop at Walmart.
No, I'm being totally serious because that's not the Walmart clientele.
Yeah.
If you want, like, by the virtue of the fact that you're shopping on it, if you're already somewhat sophisticated on Amazon, because that's how you have to do it. It's like Netflix. Netflix doesn't have to teach you how to use Netflix. You buy Netflix, you figure it out. But if you look at a lot of alternative services like Vudu or something, no offense, really confusing.
Yeah.
Very confusing. And so the idea that there's a one-to-one parity, look, what I just said stands. The fact that Walmart is partnering with Google, this is the same bad relationship that companies made when they partnered with Google TV. This is the same bad relationship that phone manufacturers did when they partnered with Google 411. This is the same bad relationship that cheap OEMs made with Google for Android. It didn't work out for any of them. It has never worked out. There's not one company, minus Samsung, that made any money on these relationships. Everybody opted for Roku. Everybody opted for stock Android. Nobody wanted proprietary Google stuff because Google doesn't support you. They piggyback on you. As far as Walmart goes, I applaud them for trying, but if you've ever tried to shop at any of Google's stores, it's a nightmare. Amazon might not be the best. Well, Amazon might not be the cleanest, but they're thousands times better than Walmart. They're
Yeah.
thousands times better than what Google does as far as shopping online goes.
I guess the question is, how big is Amazon going to be allowed to get? Because, hey, we still do live, in America. America is what it is. And at what point are they, going to spread?
That depends on who the president is.
Yeah, I guess because they're getting so big and they're getting into so many things. I mean, they are nowadays the de facto, just kind of widget salesman, because online they are the de facto book publishing service. They're the de facto, just so many different things. It's hard to see where Amazon goes next.
Go back to the Xbox One X. When Microsoft announced they were taking pre-orders, you suddenly saw all these, you can't see them, I'm doing scare quotes, news stories pop up. Oh, Microsoft's taking pre-orders. What that really was an ad. Because when you see websites like Ars Technica, Engadget, Verge, CNET, they all talk about it. They always have a link to the Amazon page, right? But that's not the Amazon page. That's an Amazon affiliate page,
Right.
which means that if you pre-order it through that particular page, that publication is going to get a piece of it. That is advertising. That is brilliant because Google makes almost all their money through advertising. And what Amazon is doing is they're subverting the entire process, and they're partnering with companies and websites to do affiliate marketing, which, full disclosure, we're trying to do on Popzara as well, because Google's advertising model has become so damn restrictive. They're now to the point where it used to be, we're not going to deliver ads on your page anymore. We're going to have you change your content to be appropriate. It used to be appropriate meant no nudity. Okay, I'm down with that. But now that the terms of appropriateness now may eventually go to what type of content, like, is it considered hate speech? And I will give Amazon credit. Amazon, for the most part, has kept out of that mess. They've kept out of the brain control that Google and the rest have done. That is important. And you asked how long it's going to be until Amazon reaches a point. To be honest with you, if it doesn't happen during the Trump administration, it may never happen. Google should have been investigated for antitrust policies long ago. They've clearly engaged in anti-competitive behaviors. That's no doubt in my mind. No doubt in any mind.
They have, and at the same time, companies such as Google, Microsoft, maybe even Apple with and some of their iOS, like, they've been taken to task. It's just they've only been taken to task in Europe. In the US, no one says a thing, but these companies do get like
against Apple. Apple's been hauled into court in the US by the federal government, and it's also Apple is also the only company, wink wink, that refused to play ball with the government for programs like PRISM or helping the US government unlock iPhones. Google, Amazon, there's a bunch of these companies, PayPal, they all play nice with certain administrations. And I'm not being political, but it's purely political. The fact is, it really depends on what administration's in there. The Obama administration and the Bush administration never felt inclined to prosecute or even investigate some of these practices because they didn't understand them. There's a lot of interplay between executives at Google and Amazon that worked for the Obama administration, back and forth. You can look it up, including patent office positions. That's not the case with the Trump administration. There's a very antagonistic relationship between Trump and Google, or excuse me, Jeff Bezos, who owns the Washington Post. So I would not be surprised if it's going to happen. It's going to happen in the next, let's just say charitably 4 years. So I would like to see Amazon investigated because I know for a fact that some of their policies have hurt industry. They've done some outrageous crap towards booksellers. They've done some outrageous crap towards competitors like Apple. They've done some outrageous crap elsewhere. And as nice as they are and as great as they are, they've done some bad things. And if those bad things aren't corrected now, then what, you could talk about net neutrality and anti-competitiveness till you're blue in the face. But what Amazon is doing is stifling innovation. It is stifling competition. And that's not fair to those companies that the only thing they're asking for is to be equally represented at a fair right, and Amazon is not allowing them to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
We
other than
we
that, they're great.
Yeah,
Cookies
no,
on an
no,
hour.
no, really. I mean, I will say I do subscribe to Amazon Prime. I'm very happy with the service. I, get a lot of things shipped to my door in 2 days. I have
I
more
do
card.
too. I do too.
I have more cardboard in the past couple of years than I have my entire life. It's
Don't
just
don't you
is
hate that though? You get
yeah.
this nice package and it's got that Amazon sticker. So like if thieves are like, this guy's got some nice stuff.
Yeah, it's and trust me, I mean, I just had a package stolen the other day. It's a thing, but whatever. My point is that Amazon, I like them, but I question how big they're going to get before we sit back and say, huh. So now there's only two choices, and both are owned by Amazon. I'm just wondering when it's going to get to that point. But by the way, the article that you linked here, CNET, is available through Computer America in the show notes. I do like how they're like, she added that lower Whole Foods prices could hurt higher end and specialty grocers like Trader Joe's and Publix. I will say, coming from South Florida, that Publix, to hear them being called specialty or high end is such an honor because, Publix for the longest time for me was just another grocery store down the road. They weren't expensive. They weren't specialty. They were just another grocery store. And, I will say they're privately owned. They're more of, you have to be like invited to buy into the company. Publix, keep doing what you're doing. Fight Amazon.
Are they a Merc? Do you have to join them?
No. You just walk in. They don't even have loyalty cards. That's why I love them. They don't even have loyalty cards. You just walk in, and they just have deals posted everywhere.
Well,
It is what it is.
I'll just make one last comparison real quick. 10, 15 years ago, in the time of GoldenEye, if you wanted to buy a video game, you had lots of choices. You had GameSpot, GameStop. You had EB Games, Babbage's, Software, etc. Sears, remember that?
Yeah.
Now they're all gone, and Sears is going away. And now you have GameStop. But GameStop became GameStop the same way Blockbuster did, as they bought the competitors. They merged to survive. I wouldn't be surprised if you see sort of a fellowship or an affiliation between a lot of these big budget stores to survive what's happening with Amazon. So this is how it works. You don't get to be a store forever. You don't get to be an entity forever. If something better comes along that displaces you, you either innovate yourself, or you compete, or you die. You go away. And I've said it on this show before, I advise people to go look up the story of Western Union. That Western Union was a company that was made in the day of telegraphs. We don't use telegraphs anymore. The phone killed them. So certainly Western Union should have gone by the way of the dodo. No, they survived. They transmogrified into MoneyGrams, and they own the market for that. That's how a company survives. And so, yeah, I wish the rest of these luck. But you know what? Maybe you shouldn't be selling a $10, box of rigatoni.
Yeah,
So,
and so let's end on something a little bit more cheerier
sure.
and a little bit more strange. And we've been talking about artificial intelligence, robots, and their role in society's future, and a lot of it has revolved around, let's face it, care of the elderly. There's baby boomers in every country. The older population needs help and assistance, and the younger generation doesn't necessarily want to provide all of it. So that's where we thought robots were going to go. But at least I say we personally, I never thought that high technology would ever make its way to religious services. But you found a story outlines just that. I don't know how, but crazy.
Actually, one of my producers actually showed this to me. So basically, we're talking about Pepper the robot. And first of all, if you're thinking, wow, this story might have something to do with Japan, yeah, you're right. So, but usually when we talk about robots performing services that people used to, we're usually talking about prostitution and sex robots. And those sex robots have been in the story a lot. So to see a Buddhist robot perform religious ceremonies, how can this not be amazing? But are we talking about Pepper the robot that you can hire out by the hour to do Buddhist rituals?
Yeah,
and
that's the one.
The most sad thing about this is the fact that we're talking about Japan, a country that has become famous and will become more famous for its aging out population, which means that the population is growing older and older. It's the most industrialized country in the world, where the vast majority of citizens are now over 65, which
Yeah.
has got to make dating very, very interesting. But the fact is that the population is not being replaced at a rate that's, commensurate to
They're
what
they're they're
age down.
very anti immigration. Like if you want to immigrate from, let's say, the US to Japan, it's gonna take a lot of work.
That's
They're
part of
very
it.
exclusive.
That's part of it. But they're a mono-ethnic culture, and they are the most successful mono-ethnic culture. And as a society, you could look up ethnography and the art of demographics, and come up with a lot of reasons why. But they seem to follow. I forget the principle, but the more developed a country gets, the lower its childbirth becomes, right?
Right.
And and
That's
also there's
standard.
something to
Yeah.
be and there's also, you could talk about what they call demasculinized population, which means that men are no longer dating. They've jumped out of the dating pool. They've become, I don't hate to
Why
use the word feminized, but they
why bother, right? They're
yeah.
disillusioned with, the idea of being a man, going out, finding a woman,
Mhm.
dating. It's become
Well, because they're marrying video game models. They have they have sex bots. I'm just kidding. But the fact, actually, I'm not. But there's a term for it. I forget the Japanese word for it. I used to know it, but it basically comes down to vegetarian males. And so what that comes out to, whereas in China you have a sex disproportion between males and females because of a disastrous one child policy. In Japan you have a natural imbue of this. And by the way, this was happening in Russia too. And the only way to fix this is for the government, either the government to encourage breeding, which they don't, or like you said, for an immigration influx. And Japan is I hate to use the word racist, but Japan is steadfast against the idea of letting in foreigners to
right.
repopulate the population. So there may be, Israel. By the way, Israel is doing this too. By the way, to some extent. So we may see the end of the Japanese people in about 150 years, but thankfully
But
there'll be
in their
robots.
place, in their place, in the ruining, in the actually not even the ruins, in the glistening utopia that is suddenly no more Japanese and only waiter robots and day worker robots. There will be Buddhist ceremonies that can be held by this. So. Uh, and I'm assuming that you read this. I understand that there's a lot to be said for the population, but at the same time, why why is this just like an example of the Japanese people being accepting of the idea of robots performing duties that really this should be the highest order of a human experience, the idea of a soul and that kind of thing. Is it just Japan ready to embrace robots in every aspect of their life?
Well, when you go to stores in America now, and people are very, very much very comfortable with certain robots taking place. You get a auto cashier at the grocery store. You go to a hospital and they have those robots that dispense medications and meals in certain places. You know, I think that the concept of what a robot is, we have to rethink it. If you look at Pepper the robot, and I hope you put a link on the show. If you look at
Yeah.
Pepper doesn't look like Terminator, and he doesn't look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. He looks like an Osamu Tezuka manga. And let's not forget, Ben, that the term uncanny valley was founded by a Japanese, linguist. The idea is that the more realistic something becomes, the more unrealistic it becomes. You look at Japanese robots like this, they look like cartoons, they look like manga characters, because that can be more expressive. And the part that's really sad about this, the part that really gets my heart broken, is that Japan does one thing better than any culture I've ever seen, including the Chinese, and that is they take care of their elderly. And the idea is that children would take care of the elderly would not go into a nursing home, and that's really been changing in the last 20 years. And the fact is, you can't even get a damn priest.
Hmm.
They're beggars. They're outside. You go out any street and grab one. But now you got to get a robot to do this.
Yeah.
So that's depressing to me because it signals a complete change in culture that I don't think we expected from Japan. I
Yeah.
expected sex robots, but not priests.
Yeah, and by the way, if you want to hire one of these Buddhist, ceremony conducting robots, it's $350 for a ceremony compared to $2,000 for a human. So automation, it's affecting everyone. So hey, Nathan, with that, the music, we are just about done here. If people want to, hear more of what you have to say and what your editors and writers have to say, where can they go?
Well, for the fun stuff that you can share with friends on Facebook and not be defriended, you can go to popzara.com. That's Popzara. And if you want the saucy stuff that will get you run out of the country, I also host a podcast called the Safe Spaces Podcast, and that's at safepodcast.com. But beware, I'm not responsible for any broken relationships.
There you go. There you have it. So, Heartbreaker, Nathan Evans, once again, and everyone else, thank you for joining us here on Computer America. Everyone in Texas, please be safe. Do not get
off the beach.
Get off the beach. And yeah, good luck with all that rain. Everyone else, tune in next week, Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern. Hey, Computer America, signing out. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.